Dylan, it's great to have you in the studio today.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to learn all about Pipedream. Tell me more about the history of it and the growth that you guys have.
Pipedream is about 5 years old. I'm one of the founders, along with 7 other people, actually. So we all work together. We were part of the senior product and engineering team at a company called Brightroll. So known this team for many, many years. Raised money about 4 years ago from True Ventures, CRV mainly, and a number of other investors. Our team is about 20 people now. In the past 2 years, we've really seen great growth. It took us a couple years to really nail the product. Just a lot of iteration, a lot of talking to developers. But the past couple years, we've really seen developers start to love Pipedream, use it in their day-to-day workflow. Yeah, we're really excited to just start really marketing this, start showing it off to people, and really excited to work with Snowflake more.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I mean, some big notable investors there. Tell me, what exactly for the developers, what do they use Pipedream for?
Yeah, so Pipedream is an integration platform. And people, you can think of this spectrum of our users where some people might be more familiar with a Zapier. So some integration tool that's more no code, where you stitch a trigger together, it triggers on some event in an app. Then you want to send that data somewhere like Snowflake, right? So a lot of our customers come from that end of the no code spectrum. You get a lot of developers who are coming from a cloud like AWS or Google, and who have built these deep integrations but do not want to maintain that. And Pipedream's perfect for both of those sets of customers. So you want to automate anything, you can do it through Pipedream. We've got over 1,300 integrated apps now, including Snowflake. So just picture all the different ways you can connect your systems. Pipedream makes that really easy. And the great part about Pipedream that appeals to developers is you can write any Node.js or Python code directly in the editor, mix and match with our no-code triggers and actions. So it's just a really fun and simple way to build these automations to move data between systems.
That is pretty cool. So, I mean, it really seems like a game changer for the general automation. You have that balancing act between no code and heavy code.
Yeah.
And Snowflake's a part of it.
Yeah.
So tell me more about the architecture of this platform and how does Snowflake fit into it?
Yeah. So we run on Kubernetes primarily. Our engineering team at Brightroll, we were doing very high volume ad tech. So we were in the business of serving video ads. So our team comes with this background of really high scale. And so we decided, we wanted to build a workflow platform that would handle that scale. Our team is great at just architecting. We've got a Kotlin backend, doing a lot of really deep engineering there. Our front end is Vue. Snowflake fits into it on all of our internal data. We are pumping everything into Snowflake because we're asking a million questions. We have a really technical team. We get a new product out, we've got to measure every single thing about it. Snowflake for us, it was a really easy choice when we were evaluating a tool for a database because we had used Redshift back at Brightroll. That worked well at the time, but there were not many options, right, for a really high-scale database. So when we found Snowflake, as we were reevaluating these tools at Pipedream, we fell in love with the speed, the separation of storage and compute, all of just the rich functions. I still to this day will just find this random function in your docs, be like, how have I never heard of this? I want to use it more, or build our own UDFs, right? So it was such an easy choice. And every day we're just, again, continuing to add new data, decorate existing data. Love the support for JSON. We're big fans of just dumping JSON in there, not worrying about the schema at all, because it's so fast also just to read from that and not have to worry about any of the mechanics of the old style kind of ETL. So big fans. We use Looker on top of Snowflake as well. And so essentially every single person at our company is asking questions of Snowflake and then using that for product insight. We're evaluating also building a native app just to get a deeper integration, make it super easy for Snowflake customers to use Pipedream, get data in and out of Snowflake. And yeah, we're continuing to just power data in our product and get more of these insights to our customers. Because Pipedream is it's a very technical tool. Our customers want a lot of data, and so we're just continuing to evaluate how do we get more of that, and I think Snowflake's going to be a key part of that for us.
I love that, and you touched on kind of the ecosystem that Snowflake plays in, and it really seems like Pipedream just blows that out of the water. I mean, it expands the number of connections, the number of integrations and automations that you can do with Snowflake.
Exactly. Yeah, so we've got a lot of customers. You know, there's two, I think, key use cases. If you remember one thing about Pipedream plus Snowflake, it is one of the simplest ways to stream data into Snowflake. So whether you're writing data directly to a table, and I'll show off this in the demo later, or if you're writing data to S3 that then, later via Stage and Pipe is copied into Snowflake, Pipedream is one of the simplest ways to just get literally anything from all of our app integrations, 1,300 plus apps now, any of that data into Snowflake. We're using it in that manner. Our customers use it in that manner just to get everything we can because we want to measure everything. So if you're a highly technical, data-driven organization and you're using all of these apps for your own customers and you want to get the data into Snowflake, incredibly easy. The other core use case is on the data observability side. So we have a lot of customers who are in automations that are either triggered by things that happen within Snowflake, so queries or task runs, task failures, warehouse changes. Any of that is just an event that can trigger a workflow, right? If you think about that abstractly as a customer, it becomes incredibly powerful as a mental model because you're saying, I have a new user sign up, right? And I want to trigger a workflow on that. If you're writing that data to a Snowflake table, you can run a Pipedream workflow that listens for new rows on that table and then just triggers a workflow. You get all of your customer data. You can start your drip campaign, whatever you want, right? So really getting data into Snowflake and then acting on that data and building automations. Once our customers really think about the abstract power, they just go wild because you can suddenly automate so much of what you may be doing manually today. Really anything is possible with Pipedream.
I mean, that's pretty powerful. So let's dive in. I want to see a demo.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to start with a workflow. Okay, so this is the core Pipedream UI. I just created a new workspace, which is what you do when you sign up and you're signing up for your organization. I don't have any workflows yet, so let's create one. So the first thing I want to show off is that use case I mentioned where we get data into Snowflake. I'm just going to do something really simple. You can see here, okay, the first thing you do when you create a workflow is create a trigger. So we have, again, 1,300 plus apps, adding more every day. If you need any integration, reach out to us. We'll add it within the day. Just want to plug that. Our team is awesome. So you can see here, I can search for any app, right, like Snowflake, and then I'll see all of the triggers that I have access to that we've built to solve common use cases. Want to listen on new rows, new query results, etc. Then I also have these native interfaces like an HTTP endpoint, or I run a job on a schedule, like a cron job, right? So really, you can trigger your workflow on essentially anything, right? Either you have an app-based event, and we've built a trigger for that, or I just want to, let's say, ingest a webhook from some random third-party system or from my own app. So I'll create an HTTP trigger, and I'll keep these default options. You have a lot of options here for returning static responses. Some webhook providers, they'll want to get a custom response back. I'll just save and continue. And you can see here we get a endpoint URL that's now unique to this workflow. And if I generate a test event, I'm just going to do this so we don't have to worry about any third-party systems. I'll just say name and then email. And I'll send this HTTP request here. So now this is the full event data in the HTTP request. You have access to, notice, the method, client IP address, the event body that I just sent, and then a ton of contextual information that's useful on the Pipedream side, right? But as a user now, I have access to all of this in the rest of my workflow. And so I can copy any of this data and then reference it in later steps. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to write to a test table. So I'll continue. And now I can add a step, right? So number one, I've got a trigger that runs my workflow now on any HTTP request that gets sent to this workflow. And then I'll search for Snowflake. And I'll insert a single row. I already connected my Snowflake account here. You can see you can connect a new account, enter your basic credentials, And then this is going to look for any table names in the default database and schema that I selected as a part of that connection. So you say, I want to talk to this database, this schema. Then I've got all of my tables. So I've got this random enriched users table. It's just 3 columns. Notice that once we select the table, in the background now, we're looking at the schema for that table, and then we're going to show a field for every column in that table, right? Now for the email, remember that I had access to the data that I sent in the webhook. So now I'm just going to select that path, right? And now suddenly I'm referencing the data from the trigger step. I can add any steps between here, by the way. And so just for the purpose of a demo, I'm not going to actually fetch this from a third-party API, but just envision you want to enrich data on users who sign up for your platform, and use a platform like Clearbit, let's say, to get that enrichment data, right? So I can do that between these 2 steps, right? Trigger comes in, I send a request to a third party to enrich it. For now, I'm just going to show y'all how to write node code, and I'll just return a fake value. But just envision, again, you can talk to any of the 1,300 apps that Pipedream has integrated at any point of your workflow. So I'll remove this step. And then here, I'm just going to return, my title is co-founder and software engineer, right? And I can test this step. Again, you can run any Node.js code here, or Python, Go, Bash, all supported languages. You can mix and match those steps within a single workflow. So we have a lot of customers who will, run like a pandas data frame calculation in one step. And then they want to use an NPM package that does some very specific thing, right? And you can mix and match that all within Pipedream, right? So you pick and choose the best packages across languages. For now, I'm just, again, returning this data. I'll copy that path, go back here, then I'm going to put that in the title, and then I'll finish up with the name. I'll find that. This is also searchable, by the way, so I can just search for name, and I see that here. And then let's test it. And let's go, let's see. That is in Pipedream public from test enriched users. And then let's see. So successfully inserted row in test enriched users. Get basic metadata about that. And then I've got my record right here. Okay. So within a couple minutes, very, very easy, right? And you can do so much more with Pipedream. Like these demos go on for hours sometimes. So we're like, what do we want to connect, right? So that's one part. And then is it okay if I show y'all now kind of the other use case?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Cool. So this is one workflow. We'll create a new one. Okay. Forgot to mention, when I'm done building a workflow, this is all in test mode, right? I can make any changes here, not going to affect the production version of my workflow. We just recently released a GitHub integration as well. And developers have been clamoring for this, right? Developers tell us, I love building in Pipedream's UI because it's so simple to connect to apps, but I obviously want version control. I want to see a commit history. I want to be able to make changes locally and then push those and have that deployed on Pipedream, right? So I want to show y'all this really interesting use case now there's one customer that we talked to that we developed this with, and we wrote a blog post about it. So some customers who use Snowflake tasks, they want to monitor task failures. And they often want to send those to some observability or messaging system, like Slack, right? So when a task fails, I want to know what's wrong. But often, it's very hard to know from the error message like exactly what went wrong, right? And so we're going to listen for task failures and then send that error with the query that was run to ChatGPT, have it explain what the error is, what was wrong about the SQL query, and then send that to Slack in a formatted message. And we can do it all within a couple minutes. So I've got this set up already, actually, and I can show you the configuration. So if I were doing this from scratch, I'd search for Snowflake and then look for the failed task in schema trigger. Okay, that's one of our native triggers. I want to mention, too, that you can run any arbitrary SQL query as a trigger on Snowflake. So again, if you're watching for new records in a users table, or if you're running a scheduled job every day that aggregates results from some table and then sends it to some system, you can use new row, new query results, monitor any arbitrary data. And then we have some of these other triggers that are more specific to these use cases, like listening for failed tasks, right? So I set this up already, and then I see a failed task event. Again, just like my webhook, I see task name, task database, all the relevant data for the event, right? So I want the error message and the query text. That's going to be the most useful thing to me. I'm going to search for OpenAI, and I'm going to use the chat API. I'll choose GPT-4, the most recent version, and then I'm just going to type a quick prompt here. So I'm going to ask GPT to explain this error and fix this SQL. I will reference the error, and I'll reference the SQL. We'll see how well this does. We might have to iterate on the prompt just a little bit. So take a sec for GPT to respond. In that time, I can always add new steps. Oh, here we go. It's fast, actually. Generated message. The function current time stam does not exist in SQL. And that's accurate. It was just a typo, right? Yeah. The corrected SQL is current time stamp. I'm going to copy that path now and then go to Slack. I'm just going to send this now as a formatted Slack message. Again, I've connected my Slack account already. You can connect a new account as needed. Snowflake demo. Failed task. The original SQL. We'll put the error. Obviously, we'd format this better if we were actually building this. And then explanation from ChatGPT. And there you go.
That's
Snowflake
amazing.
demo channel.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Again, within just like 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Connected 3 different systems, really easy, really powerful, and a great way to, again, observe your data in Snowflake.
I love that last demo. I mean, connecting LLMs to it, it really shows the power of being able to so easily connect all these different systems. I love how you were able to do the templating for the prompt. That was cool. And yeah, awesome demo. Tell me more about some of the features of Snowflake that have made a big impact. You mentioned a couple of them,
yeah,
right? Like the separation of compute and storage. What has been some of the most impactful features of Snowflake?
I actually go back to the variant type and just the ability to store raw JSON. It's just, we have a very small data team. It's myself and one other person, and I don't spend as much time in the data world as I want to. So like, I'm constantly just building new products and then shipping really quick analytics. So just the ability to store JSON and then query it in arbitrary ways, it's just like so powerful because like Postgres has gotten there, but my SQL JSON support has never been great. So like all of the databases we've used in the past, I just felt JSON support was lacking, but yet JSON is just the fundamental data exchange format for all of the other apps that we use, right? Every API returns JSON. So I just continue to go back to that as like one of the most foundational features. It just, y'all have nailed the simplicity, but then also again, the speed and the power for us. That was what really sold us on Snowflake. Separation of storage and compute, like you mentioned, very easy for us to understand how that works. At Brightroll, when we used Redshift, we constantly over-provisioned nodes. And it was just such a hassle to have to maintain that and have to manage that all the time. So just being able to spin up a warehouse and have it automatically spin down is also great for us, right? And yeah, just the, I mentioned this before, but like all the rich support for window functions, approximate percentile calculations, all these things as an analyst, like it sings with very real power that I have never gotten on another database before. So just like being able to query the data with all of that, every part of the analyst lifecycle and the data engineering lifecycle for me, Snowflake is saving me time, right? So as a founder, I'm just always optimizing for that. How do I just quickly store data, quickly retrieve it? And Snowflake's been great for that. Stages, pipes, really, I think just like one of the most effective ways for us to just, again, very quickly store like large JSON and then have Snowflake asynchronously copy that. That model works so well for us too. So there's just clearly a lot of thought that's input into all these features, and we appreciate that on the developer side. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
So what would you say should your customers should get most excited about over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so I would say the Git integration that I mentioned, foundational change for us. It's been an eyesore, frankly, for a long time. Developers have been clamoring for it, and we get it. Like, our customers are developers. They want version control. So we're about to release that to all customers. Very excited about that. We're shipping support for custom domains, another big ask, right? So that pipedream.net endpoint I showed off, you can obviously brand that. Shipping a lot more AI products. I can briefly show you how that works if you'd like.
Yeah.
It's a very quick demo. You can essentially write code with AI. What we've done on the back end is integrated all of the docs of our partners. So like the OpenAPI spec for Slack or the API docs. We've ingested that into a database. And then based on what the user wants to do, right, I say use AI with the Slack API. Send a message to the general channel formatted as a Slack block with the name with, let's say, with hello world bolded. I'm curious if it's going to get this. I've never tried this live. So I start generating, and then we start writing code for you, right? And you can see that the Node.js code on Pipedream is in a very specific format, and that affords us running very specific functions. Like we have a lot of built-in functions that are essentially global functions in Node.js that you can use. And I think it did it. I'm looking at this code really quickly, and it did the block. It's allowing me, let me just use this code real quick and let's test it out. It'll ask me to configure the data in a moment. I select my Slack account. It did the general channel, although it forgot the hash. But we're enamored with the power of AI for developers. Like we just think very methodically about like, what are developers spending time doing? I'm spending time reading API docs and then mapping that to code. I do not want to spend that time. So that core use case we're really trying to solve here. And we're doing a lot to just expand the use of AI in our product in a similar way. Just talking to developers about what they're doing and then facilitating that with AI. So we're really excited about this. That's launching publicly next week. Yeah, a few other just like core features that again improve the developer experience. Our roadmap is essentially just like a list of how can we make you 10x more productive when you build integrations. And we're just going down that list of things that developers are asking us for. So we're laser focused on that. Excited for all these releases.
Love it.
Yeah.
So where should people go to learn more about Pipedream?
Yeah, so our website, pipedream.com. You can read Pipedream here. And we have extensive documentation. We have a great Slack community. All of us founders sit in there because we believe it's still great to have that connection with users. So we'd love to talk to anyone, answer any questions about how to use Snowflake with Pipedream. Yeah, and in general, our documentation, video series on YouTube, lots of great resources. We have a Pipedream University as well you can find on the website.
So Dylan, I want to say a big thank you for joining me in the studio today. It's been great learning all about Pipedream and how you use Snowflake.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
And folks, if you want to learn how to build your next application on Snowflake, check out developers.snowflake.com. And if you want to see other interviews like this with technical leaders in the space, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. My name is Daniel Myers, and this has been another episode of Powered by Snowflake.